Hi everyone, welcome to my channel. In today's video, I am very excited to share with all of you my haul from Becca Cosmetics, and this will be a complete first impressions of the brand because I have never tried anything from their product line. But recently they announced that they will unfortunately be closing for good in September of this year. So I had always heard great things about their highlighter and some of their other hit products. And so since I had never tried their products before, I figured now was the best time to really scoop some up in case I find formulas I love. I still have time to pick up more before they close down. And for me personally, Becca was not a brand that I was really following or paying close attention to, but it still came as a surprise to me when they announced that they were shutting down because their highlighters and a few of their other products are still on the bestseller lists of Sephora, and they seem to be a pretty well-established, popular brand. Of course, I think maybe we could have seen the writing on the wall based on their Becca Zero foundation product, which got a lot of attention online, but mostly negative attention. So it did sort of feel like towards the end they were getting kind of desperate and just trying to do something to get consumers interested in their brand again. So it's kind of sad to see that it's come to this, but hopefully this video is helpful for any of you who are also curious about Becca. Again, because if you're interested in their products, you probably want to stock up on them this year before they close down. So first, let me just run through the products that I bought. So first off, I have their under eye brightening corrector here, and I got this in the shade light medium since I figure it's probably better for an under eye corrector to be on the lighter side, and then I can always go in with foundation or concealer on top of it. And then I got two of their highlighters. So I got a mini champagne pop, which is their most popular highlighter shade, and this was originally a collab with Jaclyn Hill. And then I also got the full-size highlighter for prismatic amethyst since I was really intrigued by the shade, which has a bit of a pinky lilac flip to it, and I've been looking for more unique highlighters. So this did not come in the mini size, unfortunately, so I just went ahead and got the full size. And then I also got one of their lipsticks. So this is in the shade W Rouge, and I had heard really rave reviews about their formula and how creamy and comfortable it is. So I think this is one of the products where if I like it, I might pick up some additional shades. And then finally, my order came with these two little deluxe sample size products. So I have their Ultimate Coverage Foundation in the shade 3W2 Driftwood, and then also their Hydra Mist Set and Refresh Powder. And I was actually supposed to get two of these little foundation samples, but I think they forgot to pack one. So hopefully this is a good shade match for me. So without further ado, let's dive into these products. So I'm gonna first start out with this under eye corrector just so we can see what this looks like on its own. And here is the packaging. It's a really pretty rose gold top, and the product itself is very pink in tone. So just so you guys can see the shade better, here it is finger swatched, and it's definitely pretty light and quite emollient. So hopefully this works on my skin tone. So I'm just gonna dab this gingerly under the eyes, and it definitely has some reflectivity to it. So if you don't like that, I don't think this product is going to work very well for you. Alrighty, so there's a very thin layer on. I honestly don't see a lot of difference in terms of color correcting, so I'm going to just put a little bit more on, even though this is probably ill-advised. I feel like this is the kind of product you're not supposed to really build up, but I just want to be able to see a little bit more of the difference. And this was one of the most recommended products and one of their best selling products. I normally am not a huge fan of under eye correctors, or I basically don't use under eye correctors. I usually just go straight to concealer, but I figured why not? Let's just give it a try. Alrighty, so there's two layers on. Again, I don't actually see much of a difference, so that's a little bit unfortunate. Maybe I just need to keep testing out this product. If you guys have tried this product, let me know down below if I'm doing something wrong or how you found it to work on your under eye area. Alrighty, so now let's go into this baby foundation here. So let me first just do a little swatch for you guys so you can see the shade. So there it is on the back of my hand. Blend it out a little bit. So it looks like it might be a tad bit warm for my skin tone, but the depth seems like it might work out. This is a pretty thick product, so I feel like this is definitely gonna have pretty high coverage. So I'm just gonna go in with my beauty blender and just dab this around my face So I think you can already see it's definitely a little bit warm for my skin tone, but hopefully I can sheer it out a little bit with my beauty blender. It's also maybe just a tad bit deep for my skin, but overall I think the shade match is not too bad. So here we are with one light layer down, and I think I would normally stop here, but today, just in the interest of doing more of a wear test with this, I'm just gonna use a little bit more and see how this builds up coverage wise. So here we are with 2 layers down, and I would definitely say with 2 layers, this is pretty full coverage. So much more coverage than I'm used to. So far it feels pretty good on the skin. I'll have to update you guys later on in terms of how this wears over the day. But at the moment, it doesn't feel drying, it doesn't feel oily, it just feels pretty comfortable on the skin. When I touch my fingers to my skin, I can feel a little bit of tackiness, but hopefully that dries down a little bit over time. The shade match overall is much better than what I anticipated. I think it was a little bit deeper than the lower parts of my face and my neck, but it matched with my forehead quite nicely. So I'm actually quite surprised given how few options they had for their deluxe sample sizes, but so far so good. So now I'm gonna go powder my face with this mini deluxe powder. So you can see it has a little bit of a net there, and I'm just gonna use my Artist Large brush from Wayne Goss and lightly, whew, that's quite a lot. Let me brush some of that off. Okay, I'm gonna lightly tap this in just kind of in the center of my face. Alrighty, so the powder's on, and I'm not the best judge of powder because normally I pretty much never wear foundation, let alone powder. But so far I would say this powder doesn't seem to be very drying on the skin, which is great. I was reading up about it. It's supposed to actually hydrate your skin somehow, which is a bit counterintuitive for powder, but we'll see if it has those sort of hydrating properties. Overall, I would say it looks fine. I wouldn't say it has quite the level of blurring and perfecting that I would want for a full coverage foundation look. I think a lot of my texture is still quite visible if you look up close, and my pores aren't necessarily being blurred. Also, I put the foundation in my under eye area on top of that corrector, and I feel like the lines under my eyes have been kind of emphasized by that combo, so I wouldn't recommend combining those two. I'll have to try the color corrector with my normal concealer to see how those play together, but at least the color corrector plus the foundation on my under eye area just doesn't look that great. Alrighty, so now let's get into the highlighters, which is personally for me the part I am most excited about because these are the products that Becca is really famous for. So let's start out with this mini highlight in the shade Champagne Pop, and this is how the packaging looks like. So it's really adorable and actually relatively luxe still for a mini size. And it actually still comes with a little mirror, which is great. So here is the product itself, really beautiful glittery highlight. So let me go ahead and give you guys a swatch. So here it is finger swatched, and then on the arm, this is how it looks. So I think this is a really beautiful kind of everyday champagne highlight shade. I can see why this is really popular and a bestseller because it really kind of blends into the skin nicely and just adds some nice shine. So now let's also open up Prismatic Amethyst so we can compare these two. So here is the full-size packaging, and as you can see, it's basically the same packaging as the mini but just blown up. And I'm actually quite surprised that these two have the same material and design, because usually when you get a mini size they also change the materials to make it a little bit lighter and cheaper, but these are actually basically exactly the same, just different sizes. And here we have the highlight itself, so let me just take this out. So you can already see probably this has much more of a cooler tone, slight lilac to it. So let me just give you guys a swatch. So here is Prismatic Amethyst, and let's swatch those next to each other. So yeah, definitely quite different shades, whereas this one mostly just blends into my skin and just provides a nice golden peachy sheen. This one really stands out with that light lilac shade. So hopefully this is still flattering on my skin tone. So now let's get these products on the cheeks. So I have here my Wayne Goss Artist Small Brush, and I'm just gonna take a little bit of that Champagne Pop shade and just put it on my left cheekbone. Okay, so there we go. Hopefully you guys can see that shine. I would say this is definitely a fairly bright highlight. This is just a very light layer and you can already see that sheen, but really pretty. I think this shade is a little bit lighter on my skin than what I thought it would be based on the swatch. Based on the swatch, it looks more or less the same as my skin tone, whereas I think it's a lot whiter and brighter on the cheek. Let me just add a little bit more just so you guys can see it a little bit better. There we go. I think this can definitely be built up to be a more beaming highlight, but at least based on this initial application, I think it can be quite natural as well. Alright, so I quickly cleaned off my brush, so now we can go into the Prismatic Amethyst shade. So let's put this on the side of the cheek. Whew. Oh wow, so this definitely has that sort of unicorn vibe going for it. Hopefully you guys can see that color. Wow. I think they actually at some point released this in special packaging that was sort of unicorn or holographic themed. This is really fun. I would definitely say this is probably not going to be an everyday highlight for me just because it has a really strong purple tone on my skin, more so than pink, so it's not necessarily going to look like a natural blush topper. But I'm really enjoying this shade because it's very different than anything else I have in my collection. I'm glad it actually reads as lilac on the cheek. So now let's go in with this lip product. So here is what the packaging looks like. It's a really pretty, really chic package. And I love the shade of this lipstick, really glamorous red. So let me just swatch that for y'all here. Wow. It's much more red than I anticipated. I thought it would be a little bit more of a muted terracotta, but this is looking much brighter than I thought it would. So now let's put this on the lips. So here we have W Rouge on the lips. In hindsight, I probably should have put a lip liner down under this, but hopefully this doesn't slip and slide too much. So based on the initial application, I would say that the formula is quite creamy and really glides on the lips very comfortably. It's a thinner formula and less creamy compared to the Charlotte Tilbury Kissing formula or the Natasha Denona I Need a Nude formula. So it doesn't feel like you have as much product on the lips. That said, I think it might not be as hydrating as especially the Kissing formula, but we'll have to see as the time wears on, and I'll give you guys an update in terms of my overall impressions. In terms of the shade, I would say that this is definitely more on the pure red side than what I originally hoped for. I've been searching for a muted terracotta lip to wear on an everyday basis, and I feel like this might be a little bit too red and glamorous for that, but still a really gorgeous shade, and I think I can still get some good use out of this. So now I'm gonna go off camera and do my eyes and finish off my cheeks and then be back with my initial review of these products. Alrighty, so here we are with the rest of the face done. Let me know what you guys think about this look. For the brows, I went in with my Tom Ford Fiber Brow Gel in the shade Espresso. And then for the eyes, since the lips were giving me Hollywood glam vibes, I decided to go in with my Charlotte Tilbury Flawless Eye Filter in Star Aura. So that's this guy over here. So a very subtle eye look to say the least, but since we're focused on the highlight today, I figured this was a good pairing. And then for the cheeks, I have my Patrick Ta blush in She's Passionate, and then my Marc Jacobs Omega Bronze in the shade Tantalize. So before we wind down this video, I just wanted to also check what the highlighters would look like on the eyes. So first with Champagne Pop, I'm gonna put this on my mini booster from Sonia G and sweep this in the brow bone area of this eye and also in the inner corner. Whoa, okay, that is quite a shiny inner corner highlight, so be a little bit careful when you put this shade in your inner corner because that really packs a punch. I would say on the brow, it also is quite shiny, but definitely slightly more muted. And then since I did just put some blush on, I'm gonna go back in with a little bit more highlight on the cheeks just so you guys can see that shade a bit better. So there we are. This side of the face is all Champagne Pop. We have in the inner corner, brow bone, and the cheek area. So now for Prismatic Amethyst, I'm going to take that same brush and sweep this in the brow bone. I'm gonna try to be a little bit more careful this time. Then put this in the inner corner. Ooh, pretty. So hopefully you guys can see that lilac shade there. I feel like it's pretty pronounced in the inner corner highlight. So this can maybe give you guys a better sense of the differences between these two. This side I would say also looks a little bit more glittery, maybe just because I packed on some more, but let me see if I add a little bit more on this side whether it matches. Okay, there we go. So I think you can pretty distinctly now see the differences between the two highlighters. And now again, I'm just gonna add some more highlight to the cheek as well. So this is the prismatic amethyst side. We have it on the cheeks, the brow bone, and also the inner corner. So I think this highlight is really beautiful on days when you want a little bit more of that kind of ethereal unicorn vibe, and maybe you have a really rosy or purple look. I think this will be perfect for pairing with those sorts of looks. Alrighty, so those are all of the Becca products that I hauled today. And I would say in terms of my initial impressions of all these products, the under eye brightening corrector for now is kind of disappointing to me. I'll have to try this with my normal Glossier stretch concealer and see if this performs better underneath that. Based on my experience today, I didn't really see a huge difference when I applied this by itself. And then once I added the foundation on top, I felt like it kind of emphasized the creasing under my eyes. In terms of the foundation and the powder, it's a little bit too hard for me to say for now, but my initial impressions are that they're fine. They work pretty well. This is a relatively good shade match for me, and also definitely can give you either a medium coverage or a full coverage look. I'm personally not a huge fan of full coverage foundation, so I don't think I'll actually end up using this a ton, but maybe I'll keep this around for any special occasions when I do want some more coverage. In terms of the powder, so far it feels really good on the skin. It does not feel drying at all. I didn't really feel like it had any pore blurring effects compared to other powders, but overall this combination seems solid, not super great, nothing to really write home about, but solid products that might be worth a try. What I really enjoyed today though were these two highlighters, which makes sense since this is what Becca is really famous for, and I'm glad that I got both of these because I think these are just very different styles. So this one I think is perfect for an everyday basis where you want something a little bit more glowy, so not as natural as, for example, my Pat McGrath highlighter, but you know, something that does give you that shine and that glitz and glam, but in a really natural tone. Whereas I think this prismatic amethyst is perfect when you want something that is a little bit more fantasy, that has that kind of unicorn, purpley, lilac flip to it. And so I'm really glad I got this, even though I had to get it in the larger packaging, because this I think is quite unique and very different from any of the other highlighters I have. This one is less special, but is a really solid highlighter that I think I'll get a lot of use out of. So finally for the lipstick, I would say so far so good. This feels pretty nice and creamy on the lips. I don't feel any drying, which I often do at this point an hour into wearing a lip product. So that's good. I would say it doesn't feel as hydrating as my Charlotte Tilbury lipsticks, but it's also not slipping and sliding around as much. So far this is a really promising product. I would say I kind of wish that I had picked a more neutral color because I don't think I'm gonna wear this sort of red color that often, but if it feels really good after several hours of wear, I might go in and pick up another shade because they do have a really nice and impressive shade range. So those are my overall first impressions of these products. I'm curious to hear from you all what your favorite Becca products are. Based on today's products, I think I would definitely be down to potentially get some more highlighters or lipsticks. And trying these products does make me feel a little bit more sad that Becca is closing, because now I have, you know, Becca products in my collection and have that connection. But at the same time, I can also see how if they only have a few hit products and these have been out for a while, it can be really hard for them to continue surviving as a brand. So it's too bad that this is the current situation they're in, and I really feel for all of the employees who are probably needing to find other jobs within Estee Lauder at this point. But hopefully they're able to find good new positions. In the meantime, hopefully all the Becca lovers out there are able to stock up on the products that they really love. So that's it for today's video. If you guys liked this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. Thank you all so much for joining me today, and I'll catch you next time. Bye!